Okay, there's a new patient in the clinic. This acoustic guitar amp from Laney seems to have a problem with the speaker, blown speaker, crazy sound. First big hurdle to overcome is to open the amp up, which is not quite as easy. First you will have to remove two screws on the bottom of the amp towards the front. Two screws here and here. Then you need to loosen these two screws in the, which in fact hold the baffle in the amp, but they also carry the two speakers. Yes, two speakers. There's a big woofer and a little tweeter. Once you loosen all this, the baffle should just come out, and be careful that you don't snap the leads of the speakers, because it's a bit too short to just tilt it out. I shoved it in a bit. Already inspected this big speaker, but I really don't see any damage. We can maybe test it by itself. But there's also this little tweeter thing, which I should take off to inspect properly. Let's just test the speakers with a 9-volt battery. Connecting the positive terminal to the positive lead on the speaker and the negative to the negative point on the speaker, which goes like this, I hope. This is positive. This is negative, but not yet connected. And now we can touch it, going like this. So you can maybe see it? No, see nothing? Yeah. Seems to be some problem with the active circuit. It's cutting out. Not all the time, but like this. The passive circuit is actually okay, I think. A bit louder because it has more amplification, because the guitar I'm using is just a passive electric guitar. So it's got a phase switch, it's got a chorus. They all work fine. A parametric EQ, treble and reverb. I'm back on the passive part of the, the active part of the circuit for active guitars, and I've got the volume all the way open on 9. Guitars all the way turned up all the way, and still I'm getting no volume anymore. I will be able to remember where the black goes because it's on the same terminal as the black lead goes further to the tweeter. Yeah, so. I did manage to find a schematic for this amp, the LA60C by Laney, and so we can have a look how these active and passive inputs are set up. And as the schematic shows, is the active input is just fed into the passive input with a 100k resistor. So it's the same signal path. If there's a problem with this jack, the active jack, and there's no problem at all with this passive jack, then the problem should be here somewhere. We will be able to measure these two resistors, 100k and 100k in series to ground will make about 200k. We should also note that the switching jacks are drawn in the position with something plugged into the jack. When you plug in here, this clip lifts off this connection, which is actually a path to ground. If there's nothing plugged in, the input, the input is connected like this, and this very obscure drawing, I don't know what it is a connection to ground. So when I hook up to a good chassis ground here, use the continuity function and check the jacks here, you will see that, oops, the passive input tip is connected to ground when not plugged in. The sleeves are always ground, so they're always connected to ground here and here, but this passive jack, active jack, is the tip is not grounded at this moment. However, if I plug into the active input here, this raises this switch here, and the connection to ground from the passive input jack is broken. So the signal will pass through this 100k resistor like this. So if we measure the resistance to ground from the input tip jacks, we will see that the passive has 100k to ground and the active has about 200k resistance to ground, exactly as expected looking at the schematic. I really cannot find anything wrong with this amp, except the fact that even though the reverb spring is mounted on springs itself, it's not isolated, it's not in a carton box in any way, it's just exposed. Maybe this is okay with the low voltages that are going on in these transistor amps, but I would suspect, as the signal is traveling through these springs, that this is one source of the noise that we were experiencing, especially if you turn open the treble control. So, but I'm not gonna do much. I'm gonna put it back together again and test it. One more thing, if you look at the labels for the active and passive input jacks, they're given as SK6 and SK7. The schematic says it should be SK7 and SK8. The other jacks are have wrong names as well. Anyway, the schematic doesn't correspond to the board. Still, if we look at PCB 9315-2, PCB 9315-2, 99. So I don't know. And also the big problem is that most of the crucial components are SMD components mounted on the underside of the board here. Some are not SMD, like this Bucket Brigade chip MN 3007, which is taking care of the chorus, probably. Kind of chips you also find in Small Stones. It's a classic. Yeah, there are these very strange power transistors. I didn't know they even made electronic stuff in Morocco, but still. Also, Dave says hello. Dave from Morocco. It's a parametric EQ where you can set up the peak frequency and have a boost to boost that frequency or cut that frequency. This is the active input, so there's less signal, there's less boost. There's 100K in series with the signal now.